This is Rockin' with J-Man, and today I'm interviewing the band Omen Skye. So how are you guys doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, J-Man.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Um, how did this band originally come together, and when did the band become something you wanted to pursue seriously?
So our drummer, Dylan Thatcher, I met him at a show at my favorite venue here. I live in Baltimore City. My guys are from Southern Maryland. We met at Born of Osiris and Vale of Maya show. That would have been sometime in 2022, and he was at this concert by himself. I was there by myself, and full disclosure, at the time, him and we didn't know each other yet, but we were each dealing pretty heavily with addiction. So naturally, two people in chaos, we kind of naturally gravitated toward each other. And so we became friends that night. We exchanged information. And I go to a lot of shows. Like it's July, whatever it is. And next week I'm going to my 41st concert of the year. And Dylan goes to a lot of concerts as well. So he said, "Man, we should meet up again." And as we started, getting to know each other a bit better, he told me that he was a drummer. He used to be in a band that's technically still together. They're not as active as they once were. They're called Silent on Fifth Street. He was the drummer of that band. He's been in a few projects before. I've been in like one like heavier rock metal band, but this was years ago. And he started playing around with the idea of starting a band. And he said he was a drummer. I've dabbled in drums. I'm not a drummer by any stretch of the imagination, but I have played guitar since 2006. And so I was interested in joining this band because it's been many years since I've been part of a serious project. And he said, "Well, my buddy Josh, our guitarist Josh, he had just moved back from 10 years in Alaska, and moved back to be on people. The music scene in Alaska is, I mean, virtually non-existent from what he's told me. Obviously, I don't know from experience, but I mean, who do they have up there? They have 86 Crazy Fists, and I don't really know of any other Alaskan metal bands or hard rock bands. But he said Josh had just moved back, and so I play guitar. I could probably play bass, but then he said they also have a buddy Alan that plays bass. So I'm like, well, looks like I can't join your project, man. And he says to me, "Well, what we really need is a vocalist." And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking in my head, like, I really want to be a part of this. Maybe I can learn by the time these guys get together for their first practice, maybe I can learn metal vocals good enough that I can audition and they'll take me on board and I can just continue to improve little by little until I'm like actually good enough to perform in front of people. Um, so he agrees. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'll let you try out if you want. I'll give you a couple weeks to practice." So for 2 weeks, I just sat in my car. I practiced a lot of stuff like Lamb of God and music that I really vibed with when I was like in high school. So I showed up 2 weeks later, and I was not very good. I still have video footage of me practicing in my car, and it's pretty pathetic. I'll eventually maybe put it up on social media as a like how it started, how it's going type thing. But yeah, I auditioned with "Laid to Rest" by Lamb of God, and it was rough, dude. And my voice was sore just from the end of one song. And but yeah, I guess it was good enough for those guys, and they offered me the job. And that was the very beginning of Omen Skye. That would have been January or February of 2023. And since then, Alan left the band to start his own business, and Dom became our bass player. And yeah, he used to be in a metal band at a PG County here in Maryland called Louder Than Quiet. They've recorded with like Johnny Craig from like Dance Gavin Dance and Amorosa and all his other projects. Um, Dom is not only a great bass player, but he knows all the technical stuff. So he brought us into the digital age. He has, we have a digital rack that we run all of our stuff through. He spent like $4,000 on stage lights for us. So he really brought us to this professional, semi-professional level that we're at now. But anyways, that's the long version of how we got started as a band. And then we eventually played our first show March of 2024. So we've only been playing shows just about 2.5 years, and we're very happy and blessed to be where we are now.
If someone has never heard Omen Skies before, what song should they hear first to understand?
Mhm. Mm. So I would like to say something off of our EP that came out. It came out September 13th, 2024. I remember because it was what do you call it? A Friday. I was down in Florida with my dad. Friday the 13th. Oh my God. But yeah, so I would like people to start with maybe a track off of that EP just so they can see how far we've come. We put as much money into mixing and recording one song now that we put into that entire first EP. So a track like the first track we ever laid down was a song called Light Bearer's Oath. And we've come very far since that song. So I'd recommend Light Bearer's Oath, maybe Ritual or Everlonging off the first EP, and then listen to something like Cry the White Lie that we just put out so you can see that transition from a few guys musically trying to figure it out and learn each other and how we mesh together as musicians, and then our new releases for 2026. We've come a long way. So start with pick a song off Mortals EP and then listen to Cry the White Lie, which is one of our newer releases, just to see the growth that we've experienced in the last few years.
So your new single Further is told from the perspective of an ancient demonic presence offering forbidden knowledge to an occultist. How did that story even come about?
So I'm going to try my best to sum it up, but this is from the mind of Josh. Josh is very big into cosmic horror, and he conceptualized this song, and it's like he's telling his own horror story. He was very excited to get this out. He's a big fan of those kinds of movies and black magic and movies about possession and stuff like that. So the overall theme of our current EP that we're in the release cycle of, it's titled "The Thoughts That Haunt Us." So Mirage, the first release off the album, is about unrequited love, stuff that a lot of people can probably relate to. Like you vibe with somebody, you think that they're a beautiful person inside and out, you want to be with this person, but it turns out that this person is just not for you. Unfortunately, it's something that we go through as humans, and I feel like people can relate. Cry the White Lie was about, it could be about many things, but it's kind of about the current state of the world, just trying to stay afloat as best we can when everything kind of seems stacked against us, unfortunately. Now, further, it when you listen to it is about this story, about a person seeking ultimate knowledge, omnipotence, about the universe, and they're making a bargain with this demonic presence. Like, yes, I want to know all the intricacies of the universe. I'm ready. Tell them to me. But then they kind of instantly get this buyer's remorse. With great power comes great responsibility. Like, if I bestow this knowledge upon you, there's a whole litany of other things that I don't think that you are ready for as a human. With that being said, we can think about metaphors in our daily life. Like, if somebody has a secret and they're going to entrust it to you, like, can you be trusted with that knowledge? Like sometimes ignorance is bliss, right? So like knowing certain things, there's a lot more that comes with certain knowledge, anxiety, you know, of knowing certain things that other people might not know about the world. And yeah, I think that it's a really clever way that Josh went about it to kind of package this very human emotion. And just, this probably isn't giving too much away, but Further is actually going to have a sequel on our next EP release. And it's from the perspective of, the occultist. And now they've made this pact and they cannot get out of it. So it's Covenant. That's the title of the song. It's this pact that they've made with this demonic presence, and there's no getting out of it now. So once you know something, you can't unknow it, right? So it's a very metaphysical, metaphorical way of talking about humans, knowledge, and our place in the universe. And Josh really hit the nail on the head with it. I think it's a very cool song. You can really let the story play out in your mind while you listen to it. And I'm not gonna lie, dude, the way that he wrote the lyrics was very difficult for me. I think in this very syncopated manner. I grew up playing saxophone, guitar. I think like I'm very like on the beat. And he wrote it as kind of like this open stanza poem, very like Humanity's Last Breath, or if some of your viewers aren't familiar with that band, Meshuggah. Like the way that their lyrics are written, it's like this very odd time signature flowing poem, and my brain doesn't think like that. So it took me took me like 7 months just to get the vocal cadence down. But I tried to get it as close to Josh's vision as possible, and I think we did all right.
Now, is there a specific demon or mythology behind the song, or did the band create its own like supernatural being?
So I'm sure this is definitely a question for Josh, and I really dove deep with him about it so that when people ask these kinds of questions in interviews, that I could be as knowledgeable as possible. He may have derived it from a story that he's heard, but as far as I'm aware, this is his own this is his own creation. He wrote this just like how a writer of a novel or a film would create a story. The protagonist is meant to be, this occultist, but it could really be anybody. So you can put yourself in the shoes of this person, and yeah, the demonic presence. So like, in telling a story, there's many. I mean, sometimes people think of like the top down, I guess, like the devil. But I mean, in these stories, think about some of the horror films that we've grown up with. A demonic presence finds its way into your house. They're all over. So they exist in many forms, and this is just one. And its main purpose is it's kind of toying with you with this ultimate knowledge. Like, I'm going to tell you some things that no one else on this earth knows, but it comes at an incredible price. And the protagonist in the story, really without thinking, is like, yes, I want to know. And then there's all these things that come along with that knowledge that this person is not ready for. So largely Josh created this story, and I think that it's a very interesting one. I think a lot of people will really like it.
So is Further just strictly supernatural storytelling, or can it also like represent addiction, obsession, or something like that?
Absolutely. So again, a lot of our songs, like Mirage, Cry the White Lie, if you've listened to those, I'm writing the heavy screaming, and then Josh is writing the melodic choruses. This song specifically, Josh came up with the composition. He came up with the lyrics. But just like any listener, right? Like, so one of your favorite bands might write a song, and they might have a very specific intention behind it. But when you listen to it, you might hear something totally different, or because of what you've lived through as a person, it might ring true in a way that it doesn't for other people. So when I listen to Further, I mean, yeah, when like addiction, that like you absolutely knocked it out of the park, man. Like, it comes to you,
Yeah.
like, and hopefully you never have to know this feeling. But yeah, man, it literally feels like a demon telling you to do these things, and better. That this is not good for my health, for my relationships, and it just looms over you. So when I do hear those lyrics, I that's really the first thing that my brain gravitates toward. And with art in general, I mean, like, when you go to a museum and you stare at a beautiful painting, a lot of these artists that created these beautiful works of art are not even here anymore. They've passed on, and you can't walk up to them and say, "What were you thinking when you painted this image?" Right? So we just have to stand there in awe of it and kind of take it in and wonder what the inspiration was behind it. And we hope that we're not largely recognized yet, but hopefully, as we are, people listen to songs like this and really contemplate what is the theme, and in doing that, people start to draw their own conclusions. So I really hope that our audience, when they listen to this song, you know, it is a story about, a person and a demon, but I really hope that they, seek beyond that and find things like you said, addiction or this inner turmoil or these problems that they have in their life and see it as a metaphor and be able to kind of liken it to their lives. I really hope that that happens, and we'll see.
Now, how do you create a cinematic atmosphere without sacrificing the aggression and the heaviness that metalcore fans expect?
So this is something, man, I grew up with. I actually wanted to be like a cinematic composer when I was a young man. I mean, still today, dude, I've been to over 300 concerts. My favorite one to this day is I went and saw Hans Zimmer with his like 60-person orchestra, and they did songs from all of my favorite movies. I just think that that cinematic quality in metal music, I mean, it just amplifies it to the next level. Josh, the way that he writes is in this very it's bigger than just guitar and drums. And Dom, he just has an ear for it. So all of our demos, he does. He adds strings, synth, sometimes voices. We'll do gang vocals in the back to really add this cinematic edge to it. Because I mean, dude, we grew up. I'm super biased, but I think we grew up in one of the greatest cinematic ages of all time. Growing up, going to see movies like Lord of the Rings in theaters, these scores like Howard Shore when he did the score for Lord of the Rings. I mean, dude, that is one of the most emotionally impactful cinematic scores of all time. So we try to, like you said, without sacrificing the aggression. Josh writes very heavy riffs, and we want it to hit hard. When Dylan plays the drums, he hits them with everything he's got in his body. So we want it to hit very hard, but we want this atmospheric ambient vibe to it so that it pulls on different emotions of the listener. We want people to bang their head and to feel the aggression of metal music. That's like, that's the meat and potatoes of metal and how it makes most of the people feel. But we also want to lull them into the story, and that way these cinematic qualities kind of shine through. And it's a beautiful thing, man. Like I feel like we don't have to try very hard. Naturally, as people, we kind of mesh, and we all play off each other's ideas. And that's the cool thing about being in a band, man. Sometimes it's hard, right? Like personalities clash, but when a collective of people come together to create a vision, an artistic vision, it's greater than any one person. Just like Josh was the main composer of Further, I mean, we all were able to chime in and add our own little special something on top, and it makes it what it is, man. I mean, that's music. So this is the entire band as a collective coming in to create this cinematic universe, and we're getting better and better at it. Like if you hear some stuff off Mortals, it might at times seem a bit empty, but we're really doubling down and trying to make it a fully encompassing cinematic experience for the listener.
You recently played Beef and Beer Beatdowns in Baltimore. So what was that like? What was that experience?
Unfortunately, man, I wish we did play it. It got rained out, and it didn't even rain, but there was a chance of lightning. So the Voltage Wrestling wrestlers, the performers, they cannot perform outdoors with any chance of lightning. So yeah, they canceled on us. Unfortunately, like hours before it. They told us around midnight, and it was supposed to start at like 10 or 11 the next morning. So, instead of just taking the day off, we all met up and we had a little band meeting and went over some of the new music that we're going to start workshopping. So, just because that show didn't happen, we didn't just slack off and take the day off. We still got together and talked about music and plans for the future. But unfortunately, that show did not happen.
You combine classic metalcore with the genre's modern wave. Which older bands built the foundation of your sound?
Oh man, Josh 100% would say Killswitch Engage. He loves Killswitch Engage. Um, I've seen them many, many times. Some of our newer stuff as it comes out, you'll see lead elements that are callbacks to like early 2000s metal. And then Josh, he's writing with Killswitch in mind, which I believe they're probably one of the biggest foundational classic metal core bands of the early 2000s. Then he's throwing in fall elements from like Humanity's Last Breath. Um, I mean, some of my favorites, and you can probably hear it in my vocals. I've tried to like carve out my own sonic identity because I don't want to sound just like them. But I love Lamb of God. Randy Blythe really inspired me to do metal vocals. Same thing with like Corey Taylor of Slipknot. Dylan comes from more of a deathcore background. He loves bands like Job for a Cowboy. And then Dom, his favorite band is System of a Down, but he really loves bands like Black Dahlia Murder and stuff like that as well. So as we continue to release songs in our catalog, I mean, I think a lot of bands are pretty formulaic these days, and we do not want to be that. We're going to have songs that sound like earlier 2000s metal, this new modern wave of metal. We have prog elements, we have black metal elements, we have deathcore elements that we want to throw in there. We might even throw a little bit of hardcore in the mix. Like we don't want to be so easily predictable. We want to switch it up, keep the listener guessing. And we've had a lot of people higher up in the industry tell us that that's not the move, and to try to stick to one thing to pull in one type of listener. And while I can see why that might be good advice, we just love making music, man. We don't have any kind of aspirations to be these big, larger than life rock stars that just create one type of music. And our main goal is just, fame. We are artists. We want to create music that we love, and hopefully it resonates with the listeners. So yeah, man, I think we're going to continue to pull from that classic metalcore sound that we all grew up with, while throwing in our little modern twists, and hopefully our audience really vibes with it.
Some fans believe modern metalcore has become too polished and dependent on predictable breakdown. Is that fair criticism?
100%, dude. There's a lot of bands now where, I mean, I feel like it's lost a lot of these cool little intricate parts. Like I'm wearing the hat now. After the Burial, they are like a gent core band. They are very progressive. Dude, if you listen to like their earlier stuff, it might not be as professionally polished, mixed and mastered like how our modern music is today. But the guitar parts, the drum sections are so complex. I feel like most modern metalcore is pretty formulaic, and if we ever don't make it to this, pinnacle, this zenith of modern metalcore, I mean, I would absolutely believe it, because we try to go out of our comfort zone. There's a new song that Josh is workshopping called Advocate. And dude, it is such a cool song. And even myself, it builds up to this point where I'm expecting a super heavy halftime breakdown to come in, and it doesn't do that. And at first I was like, dang, I really would have loved like a heavy halftime breakdown right there. But I feel like that would follow this formula that everybody is doing. And we want to go a little bit against the grain, not to our detriment. We're not going to go so far out in left field that we're going to lose listeners. Our idea at this level of, trying to bring people in, we're trying to do stuff that people really enjoy and vibe with. But a lot of times, Josh is doing certain things. Dom is adding tapping sections. Dylan's drum sections are not exactly what people would think is coming next. Even our manager, Mikey Hayes, he's listening to Further for the first time as we're uploading it to distribution. And he's like listening in his headphones. He's like, I know what's about to come. And then it doesn't happen. It goes somewhere completely different. And that's what we want to do. We don't want to be so predictable. We want to be something fresh and something new in a world where I feel like things have become a little bit stale. And not throwing shade on any specific band, but you know, they say if something works, stick to it. We're trying to do stuff a little bit different to hopefully bring in some new listeners.
Do bands now feel pressured to write a 15-second moment for TikTok instead of concentrating on the complete song?
100%, man. You know how many times a week we hear, you guys need to write shorter songs. You guys need to write a song that's 2 minutes or less. And I'm like, dude, we're a band that's inspired by early 2000s metalcore when songs were at least 4, 5, sometimes 6 minutes. Josh's brain does not work like that. The shortest songs he writes are 4.5 to 5 minutes. And even with people higher up in the industry telling us that it behooves us to write shorter songs, you know, it's not our fault that social media has created people that have attention spans of a fly. Now, with that being said, we write cool sections that we will chop and put into TikTok reels, Instagram reels, Facebook reels. I mean, we try to upload 2 Facebook reels a day, and that's a lot of work. And this is the music industry nowadays in 2026, man. You have to be content creators, videographers, photographers, and then musician kind of comes last, which is wild to me because that's why we got into it in the first place. We love writing music, but instead of trying to write a whole song around, you know, brain rot and TikTok clips, we write sections that we're able to chop up and put into videos that I think people will like, just to bring them in to hopefully listen to the whole song. But in 2026, man, because of this, how we are packaging music now. Like when I grew up, dude, you went to the store and you got a cassette or you got a CD and you listened to that whole thing from beginning to end, and you hoped that the album didn't suck because you knew one song from the radio and you got it to listen to that one song. And then a lot of times, dude, all the B sides were like garbage. So we're releasing one song at a time about every 7 weeks, to build up anticipation, and then have people listen and really focus on one song. If we're releasing one song at a time and you can't listen to it from beginning to end, I mean, maybe we're not for you, brother. But yeah, we're doing it in hopes that people will listen to and really vibe with the song in its entirety instead of just like little clips.
What is the biggest obstacle preventing Omen Skye from reaching the next level?
So the reason that I'm tired today, man, I work a job where sometimes I'm there for 12, 14, 16 hours. And with having a day job, being in a band in this day and age, I'm sure always, but especially now with social media, dude, I feel like I put more work into this band than I put into my actual job. So, I'm working for this company. We're like one of the largest shipping companies in America. Dylan is in a printing union, and he is like the big boss. We all have very demanding jobs, and we cannot put 110% of our focus on this band. So, I mean, dude, we have to sacrifice a lot of free time with friends and family to make this work. If we had a little more free time that we could, take liberty to go and record music, to go and workshop new songs, I feel like we'd have more content out than we do. I feel like, I mean, how many songs do we have out now? 8, 9. So we would have more out there for people to listen to. And with more free time, man, we'd be able to tour. Like if I didn't have to worry about going to work, now my work schedule is pretty cool. I work 3 days and then I'm off for 3 days. So if I take off for 3 days, I'm off for 9 days, which is great when it comes time to touring. But we only can really do one-off shows, and we've done, just weekenders, stuff like that. But what we really need to do to move to the next level, on top of social media presence and getting the online listeners, advertising, that's another big thing. Money, advertising is very expensive. Between January and March, I think I spent $2,300 on advertising just to get followers. So if the band doesn't work out, I've spent my money on air. Um, but yeah, man, if we had more time, we would be out there with a band, um, probably one of the bigger bands under the Core Collective Talent Agency umbrella, and trying to hop on with them as an opener, just to get our name out there more, to travel around to cities like, Philly, Chicago, Charlotte, North Carolina, and try and expand our listener base, because our live shows are, we bring the heat, man. Like Dom, he is a strong silent type kind of guy. When you get that man up on stage, he explodes. So we really try to bring that next level stage presence. Like I said, he just purchased all these stage lights to really take our live show to a professional level. And if we had more time, we would be able to do it in a lot more places than just around here in Maryland. And that is our biggest hindrance right now.
If we have this conversation again 1 year from now, what needs to happen for you to consider the year successful?
We need to go on a tour. We need to go on a lengthy tour. I mean, there's a lot of people that clown on bands that play 3 or 4 shows like a long extended weekender, and they say we're going on tour. I mean, it is a tour. You're going from city to city, but a tour. I don't know how many dates it would be necessary to make somebody happy in order to call it a proper tour. But we need to go on a proper tour with a larger band and to get our name out there and for people to see um, the energy that we bring to the stage. That is our biggest thing. So if I were to talk to you a year from now, hopefully I'd be like, Jam Man, we just got back from touring with this band. We met all these incredible people. We made money off of our merch. We had all these cool opportunities. We got to see X, Y, and Z city, and we feel like we've grown our listener base. And really, with this formula that we're following, the most monthly streams we've gotten to is not very many. I would like to see us creep up into like the 10, 20, and then eventually like 50,000. So I don't know what you've heard from bands trying to break through the regional scene, but in order for record labels to notice you, typically you need about 50,000 monthly listeners for a label to consider signing you. And I mean, that's what every band wants, right? Because once you're signed, the label pays for all the incidentals that you don't want to pay for. I mean, dude, we put so much money into this project, and being an original band, we don't see too much return on our investment, unfortunately. The only money we make is from merch. And we've had some nights, dude, where we play and make like $4,000, and it's absolutely great. And that money goes right back into the band, and it's gone. So, eventually trying to get that label backing. But right now, we're very happy with Mikey and Katie and Core Collective Talent Agency. Dude, they've really broken us through. All our listeners have like gone up by 5, 6 times. We have a very planned approach with every single song that we release. We feel like we're now inside the regional scene, whereas before we were just in the local Maryland, Baltimore scene, and there's no growth there. What you'll stagnate, and you'll play a couple local shows, and your friends will come out, and then that's it. Now we're starting to get regional eyes upon us, and that's the next step, man. Just breaking out, doing a mid-Atlantic tour, maybe the East Coast, and yeah, just grow from there.
Where can everyone stream? Wait, no, sorry. Where the fuck? Sorry.
You're good, man. You're good.
If you were on death row, what would your final meal be and why?
Brother, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm super Italian. I would have probably like rigatoni and meat sauce, man, that my mom made, or my dad makes a pretty good one too. He throws sausage in there. Yeah, something Italian. I recently just moved, but for the last 2 years, I lived in Little Italy in Baltimore City. Dude, I could walk right across the street and get a chicken Alfredo, get a nice, homemade lasagna. So load me up with all the Italian food. I got marinara sauce running through these veins. That's my favorite food on earth, man.
I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time and speaking with me today. I felt like we had a great
Of
interview.
course.
Appreciate it, dude. Thank you so much. You have a good one.
Th- Thanks, Jay, man. You too. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure. See you, man.